Good evening. It's Kali. It's Raven and Kali Goddess again, or Kali Goddess and Raven. With us this evening, we have Erlinda Inniss. She is a medium. She is, well, let me play the little trailer for you so you can know just a little bit about it, because the trailer is like 1/10 of her bio. So let me play that. This week, Raven and Kali Goddess welcome Erlinda Inniss, a renowned medium and spiritual coach, whose remarkable honesty has bestowed upon her an extraordinary gift, the ability to perceive energy in its most profound forms. Her appearances on prestigious networks like ABC, NBC, and Fox have not only garnered attention, but have also deeply resonated with countless souls. Join us this Friday, October 6th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Kali?
Hi. So, welcome. Am I starting off the interview?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, what will you tell us a little bit about your background? I know you have some different influences with different religions in your upbringing, and I just want to know what was that like for you?
So I have a very, 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 very diverse family. My grandmother is Filipino. My grandfather is German and Indian, and my father is Black. Like, I just have like the craziest mix of just backgrounds in general. I was actually baptized Catholic. I was baptized Catholic, but then I also had a very strong, after my grandmother's passing, I had a very strong Christian influence and a mother figure who's actually a pastor. So I got that mix in there. Then I have some Buddhist mix in there as well. So it really was just, I think growing up, someone actually just asked me this question the other day, was like, well, were you ever forced like on a certain religion, growing up? And I just wasn't forced at all. I think I look at everything of like, oh, what's the positive that I can take from that, and I kind of take that and go with it. And oddly enough, across the years, as I grabbed these things from these different religions or beliefs, it's actually very much helped me in some of the situations and scenarios that I have come across, that in those certain religions something would help me in a certain scenario, so I just had a very, very diverse background with that.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you were never forced into one thing or another. You just got to kind of pick and choose and explore on your own. That's really great. So interesting.
Yeah, my grandmother, the line actually of the women in the Philippines were actually medicine women in the Philippines. So that all of that kind of what I do and things like that come from that area. Unfortunately, like my grandmother, told me some things, but as I really came into my gift, she wasn't around, to kind of get more, so I almost had to go like digging almost, but it all worked out. So yeah.
Well, but if you're a medium, can you talk to her even though she's already passed?
So for me, and what I was told, I have had specific encounters with her. But from what I was told, I am not allowed to connect with those that I have personal connection to because it brings ego into my gift.
I see.
So I've had there was one day, actually that I hung out all day with her in the kitchen and we made noodles. I know that sounds like super crazy probably to some people, but she makes these like noodles like from scratch, and we're in the kitchen just hanging out. But I'm very restricted on time and what I'm allowed to do with that personally for myself.
Oh, Raven, you're muted. Yeah, that makes sense. I really like the story about the noodles, and you got to make them by hand. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, it was really random, but I was like, I really needed it. It was in a very upsetting time. Like I was just getting really like, I'm just like, come on, like I need something. You gotta give me something here, But was very much told after that it most likely won't happen again in this way. So, yeah.
Well, we have a lot in common because I come from a medicine family as well and was taught by my grandmother too. And yeah, she passed too. So like you, she taught me some things and I had to learn from, others but that's my process and we're not talking about me, but we have a lot in common with that. Yeah. So how easy was it for you to break away from some of the religious dogma? And what was so challenging about it?
See, it's very complex.
Yeah.
I know as I was growing up and these things would happen, and of course when it really hit the fan, my grandmother was not around to really kind of help me with that, and I really like pushed it down because I knew like this is not okay. I mean, I would tell myself, well, like I cannot be doing this, like, hey, and I really push it down, and more so because I am a believer in God. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, and I know that in, the Bible, and it's wild though, because I'll tell you what, I have churches that invite me on Sunday to read for people, and I've had churches that think I'm going to burn on the stake. You know what I mean? So like, and they're the same religion, so I think it's very much a perspective thing and just people in general. And if they experience it and how they feel with that experience. But I actually kind of fast forward a little bit to where things really got intense to a point where I could no longer ignore what was happening. It was like really a make or break. I mean, I was like freaking miserable. I will be honest, in the sense of trying to suppress this thing that I obviously am not supposed to. And I had said, oh, God, this is so crazy. Some of the stuff, like, you guys, I really have never talked to anybody about this stuff. So it's so weird to be saying it out loud, but
it's okay. You're in good company.
I know. Thank you. There was just all these spirits in my house, and I'm just going through helping them. And really the purpose was I basically said, fine, I surrender. I give up. I will give you a week. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but
a whole week.
Yeah. Well, in that moment, I'm like, fine, I will do the opposite of everything for a whole week and see how, I feel, how my life goes. And it got to a point as I'm helping these spirits and things like that cross over, and even like cases, like death cases that were still currently going, and helping with those things. And they was just popping up. And I finally said, like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, this is happening. And I said, if I'm going to continue to do this work, I want to understand the religious aspect of it in the sense of Christianity, because I know that was going to be my biggest, pushback, and especially being someone that believes, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and I was like, I need answers. I was like, I need you to like give me answers on exactly this. And it's bizarre. The next day, this lady messaged me on Facebook, and she lives in Oklahoma. Okay. And she messaged me and said, "Hey, Erlinda, I work with Jesus and angels, and I was told to contact you. We need to have a discussion to answer some of your questions." And I'm like, wow. I was like, look, I even got goosebumps now about that, because at the time I'm like, this is crazy. Like, no, she didn't, because nobody knew that I like asked that. It's something I'm talking to my guides and whatnot, about. And I give her my number, and she calls me, and we're on the phone for like 3 days straight. 3 days straight of her going through and explaining some of these things, in the Bible, or some of these, concerns and questions that I had, so that way I understood what that was. And I think since that, I know where I stand and where my intentions were and are, and what they should be while using this gift to help people. And I think since then, I really did not care. Because it's like, for me, our discussion was obviously a 3-day discussion, so I obviously can't get into all that right now, because we'd be sitting here forever. But I did not care after I had that conversation, because I was so sure in my faith in that, and my intention of that, and what my mission, so to say, was with everything. And then at that point, I think too, just having the good mentors that I didn't even realize were already placed in my life. Like, literally, I had a Buddhist mentor, I had my Christian mentor, I had a Catholic mentor, and every single one of them were just placed so wonderfully that helped me do things as I grew into my gifts, So I don't know. I think it was just that moment of like faith and understanding, and like honestly not giving a shit, but excuse my language. I don't know.
No, you're fine.
But of what other people thought, just because I knew I was protected. I know where I stand, and I know why I'm here,
Well, it's That's beautiful amazing. That you didn't have to go against your faith.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm not someone either. I'm not a super religious person. Like I said, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in Buddha. I believe in everyone's experience that they have had with God energy,
Absolutely.
So it's interesting that like you could have continued to ask questions with your guides, but they or Jesus or whoever, they were going through this other lady in order to talk to you. I guess that must have brought it into like reality so much more, because you're just, actually having a conversation with a
it was
person.
Such a validation, because at that time, Jesus, Christ consciousness, or however people want to refer to it, was not wasn't some energy or somebody I worked with at that time. I had specific guides with people at that time, but it was just very interesting, because this lady, she was about 60 something years old, and she works with Jesus specifically. Like, that was her work,
Just to be clear, you didn't know her before.
She found me.
Okay. That's so interesting.
That he gave her my name, searched me on Facebook, and sent me a message. And she lives in Oklahoma.
Yeah. I believe that's true. I can feel it. I have goosebumps. I know that's true.
Yeah, it does seem powerful. So you talked about, having a relationship with these forces, but I'm also wondering, from day to day, what do you do to like maintain your own energy? Any like meditations or practices that you like to, share with us?
Meditation or prayer, whichever you want to refer to it as, is so important. It's so important. I think it does kind of suck, because right now spirituality is like trendy right now. It's very trendy. And so people think that, oh, meditation is supposed to be for me to relax and to be calm. And it's like, that is not even what honestly meditation is for, like at all, which people think that.
Can you describe it for us then? Because there are a lot of different definitions.
Yeah. So no, there are different forms of meditation for sure. But the most potent meditation, what we should be utilizing it for to open our containers, is active meditation. So basically opening up our containers more to where we are able to perceive things, receive information, downloads more, and operate on a higher frequency.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've heard somebody say, oh, sorry. I've heard somebody explain it as like, prayer is for like conversing, but then meditation is for listening.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds similar to what how you're.
I would say that honestly, for me, everybody's different, and how they do that. It's always a conversation. It's always a conversation. I think for me, when I would say, oh, I'm going to sit and pray, there is a form of protection in prayer where I would use that in a different scenario, where this active meditation that I'm speaking of is more of a build our frequency to understand how to operate on our natural state.
And while you're doing your meditations, is there something that you do, because you're opening yourself up spiritually? Is there something that you do to protect yourself while you're opening yourself up in this energy?
Yeah, so I always take a minute or two beforehand, surrounding myself in a bubble of white light, bringing down my guides, protection, etc. And I really just do that. I'm constantly throughout my day, because of everything I do, always calling on that and doing that. And it's really as simple as that, really.
Very nice. You spoke about the Christ consciousness. Can you explain a little bit more about your view of the Christ consciousness?
I'm trying to sum it up. So it's
yeah, it's hard to sum up.
Yeah, no. So I would say, from my understanding, this coming of Jesus, so people would say, I would say, from what I've been taught and understand, is that it's not, this physical man that is coming. Now, Christ consciousness, Christ energy, love energy is a very high state of consciousness within ourselves that runs through our body. And right now, actually, we've been going through those downloads and things, honestly, the last couple of years, where right now we're in the year of free will, so to say. That's the best way to put that. But for people to believe and step into that or not, and shift, and shift the planet, shift our evolution, shift our consciousness. How is our collective Christ consciousness gonna look?
I mean, I know that I believe in a Christ consciousness, as far as, even in the Bible or whatever, and it says that, Christ will come back again. But in my terms, I don't feel like that is a person or a being that's just going to come out of the sky and come back again. It's more like what you're talking about. It's a consciousness.
It's a remembrance.
Yes.
That's the best word I can use. It's a remembrance, of who we are.
Awesome. Holly, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just listening. That's pretty cool. I like it. I didn't grow up at all with Christianity. So I have since then started having friends and partners who have, and then I have to be like, I don't get this cultural reference. Can you please share? What is that? So I'm just absorbing mostly with that. But yeah, so my next question is about exorcism that you mentioned in your bio. Can you explain like what that is and how it might be performed?
So,
question.
I think that like a lot of people over the years, honestly, I never told people that I did it. When I first,
it sounds like a little bit of a scary word.
No, it is. It totally
intimidating.
Is. No, yeah. It totally is. And I was kind of, I don't want to say I was forced, because I wasn't forced, but I definitely, the way I was taught, I haven't been taught with anything I do by any living person. Okay. So when I connect with my guides or Christ consciousness or God or whatever we want to refer to, I was not happy that I had to learn this. But the way I was taught to do it is, I know you see like in movies and their bodies are forming, and it's very physically not okay for the vessel to do it in the way that people think an exorcism looks like, where I was taught how to remove things from the body without any physical harm to the person. Now, as the years have gone by, I haven't really found or heard of anybody else that does it this way, that I have come across. But for me, it really depends on the person. I've had, a 5-year-old jump across the room and get the strength of a 300-pound man, and then I've had some crazy, these are very dangerous situations, I don't want to say there's any type of way that I perform them. It just depends on the person and what's happening and how I'm guided to remove the energy. But basically,
so maybe a good way to approach it, the question is, when is it needed? Like, when would you find this to be like a required thing for someone?
So I put the stipulation that I would only do this. Like I said, I never tell anybody I do this, but I said, if you send them to me and it is a situation where I need to step in, then I will do it. And, somehow, obviously people find me all the time, for this somehow, but I'm just like, okay, well, I guess they need it because they're, for whatever reason, coming to me, and I don't tell people I do this. But usually when they do come to me, it very much is like a life or death scenario, at that point. And so that is when I will step in and do something.
Great. Just really quick, thank you to our listeners who are here, and if anyone has any questions for Erlinda, please type it in the chat.
Sam has a question.
All right. She says, can you explain what type of meditation that is?
Which, like the one I'm talking about? I'm assuming she means like what I'm talking about.
Maybe.
I would simply call that an active meditation. I would call that active meditation. So basically, you are upright, you're not laying down, you're active, you're alert, you're not trying to calm the body. It's just being. And then that really is a walkthrough process, because I think a lot of people don't understand active meditation, because the first thing they think is like, oh, I'm meditating, I need to close my eyes, I need to calm, my body.
And like stop our thoughts, right? Like there's a conception that
you're not going to stop your thoughts at all. It is close it down. So you can see every thought coming in, not just the one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's working on your awareness, maybe like, you're increasing your awareness, you're calming your
senses, your awareness, your intuition, and connecting with your higher self energy and bringing that down into your physical body.
Yes, I love that. That's what Raven and I have been taught too in our aura practitioners training. It's like a lot of this working with our higher selves, bringing it down into our reality here,
And I feel like, honestly, it's not just sitting in a lotus position or in a chair, or sometimes I'm in meditation when I'm weeding the garden, or when I'm doing dishes, or when I'm actually working with my glass. I am in meditation. I am in that zone, that theta brainwave, bringing myself in there and things coming in and out. So I think that's kind of the same thing too, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, what type of coaching services are you offering, in case anybody's interested?
So, I have really, like, I'm doing a tarot course where it's not really, I probably should call it something else, honestly, because I don't teach tarot in necessarily the original way that people probably know it as, but more so knowing how to read energy, connect with your specific way on how to work with energy and how that works. Because, I think with kind of the trendiness that I was discussing with how things are, and people are like, oh, I'm a Reiki master here, I'm this. But the thing is that there's no other person like you on this planet. So even the person you're learning from probably doesn't necessarily know what their gifts are. And then they're teaching you how to do something, even though you may not have that ability at all. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone can heal, everyone can do it. But if we were to look at our hands, everybody's healing centers are going to be different. Everybody's different. So how somebody could be teaching you to do something could not work for you, so I teach how to do that in the mentorship programs. I more so do mentorship with like one-on-one mentors or 3 to 5 groups of people of mentorship of how to basically access and dive into your own ability and potential with that, and understand how to use that, and whether they want to use that to monetize and they have a spiritual business in the metaphysical industry, or just for their day-to-day understanding, because there are some people that are overwhelmed with their gifts of it being an empath and things, and just want to operate normally and understand how that even works.
Yes, absolutely. I think being an empath is really seriously hard. I know myself, when I'm working with clients, sometimes I have to check myself, because I go, oh, well, that's not me. Even now I have to do that. So, and it's an ongoing, constant thing too.
Yeah, for me too. I've always been like so sensitive, but I didn't realize that a lot of the things that I was feeling, or sometimes even thinking, they didn't come from me. They come from the collective, or the the family that you're in, or the workplace. So I think a lot of us have that experience. So it's really good to have mentorship.
And I come across a lot of people that are actually sensitives as well, which is like 10 times what an empath is, and it can get so difficult to know how to operate with that, and then it consumes them. It's a blessing and a curse.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? So the difference is just the amount of sensitivity between empath and sensitive.
Yeah. I would say a sensitive, they are very sensitive to even like how their food looks, or just it's down to the smallest particle, or how sometimes people OCD, or ADHD will feel a certain way, and that's really just them trying to perceive energy and understand how to operate like that. But we're not taught how to operate like that, so it consumes them.
Mm-hmm.
An empath will camouflage if needed. A sensitive will not.
I see. That's a good distinction. Thank you. Yeah. What about your business? Like, do you have training in business? Or I know you had like a shop for a while recently, but did you have any training or like where's the background that you have in business come from?
I think I've always just been kind of entrepreneur because I don't really like to work for people. I don't really like people telling me what to do. And I think it's difficult for me. It was very difficult for me to be in spaces back when I didn't understand how this works, because like how you guys are seeing things right now is not how I'm seeing it, because I have the ability of seeing energy. So everything is like this all the time, you know? And so I think when I'm in scenarios like that, it's difficult because I know people's intentions. I can see their energy. I know how things are operating. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult for me to be in a space like that, especially when it comes to the way that I make money. I'm very weird about how my money comes to me. I don't want it to be in any bad ill or bad intention in any way. And in this day and age, unfortunately, I'm the only one that's going to be able to have full control of that.
That's amazing. So that brings me to the next part of the question, which is you're now like merging some financial services as part of what you offer. So what is that? And like, what brought you to add that to your business?
So to be honest, I haven't really, I think like 2 people know about this. I actually, with the shop and things, so we had actually our shop originally in Angola, Indiana. I don't know if you guys know about that, but it was racially vandalized pretty badly. It was on the news and everything, and things really went south in the sense of a political view, so to say. It was very much political. And we left there. We opened the store in the mall. I had the opportunity to move into a space in there. Somebody was like, hey, here's this, you know, we're like, okay, well, let me do this. Even though in all honesty, I probably wasn't in the right state or mind to even like reopen the store, to be super 100. But I did it because I was like, there's no way that I could let this happen and then let them win in that sense of not having it. And then actually shortly right after we moved back, 2 of my very, 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 very close mentors and family, Marge and Tom at Tapestry shops. I don't know if you guys know them or not, but very, very close with them. They both passed a month after. Marge went first, and then a couple months later, Tom went. And so it was just like the craziest whirlwind of 3 in a span of like 3-4 months, you know, of stuff. And my guide, I have a certain guide that is always in my business, doesn't really leave me alone. But usually, no, like something's gonna come. It's just timing, divine timing, you know. And I'd listen to that because Tom would always say that to me, you know, for everything. And this opportunity came about, and I just never in my wildest dreams, I think I'd be in the financial industry, to be super honest. And when I was talking to the person that wanted me to do this, I think it was about the 7th time that I talked to this person, because I didn't need to do it, wasn't interested in doing it, nothing like that. And I'm like, what the hell do I look like? Sorry, I just cussed again. But what do I look like being in the financial industry? You know, I don't know diddly squat, you know, about that. And my guide stepped in and was like, this is it. You have to do this. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is it? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have time for this. Like, what are you talking about? And my one guide said, this is going to help you bring wealth into the hands of more spiritually minded people.
Oh, so sweet. I love it.
So at that time, I have no clue what the fuck that meant. Like, you know, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm just trying to keep, you know, my freaking mind together and my story together here. Like, I've listened to all these synchronicities, you know, and stuff my whole life. You know, so I never questioned it. You know, I always just went with it because I knew it was always the right thing and things like that. And that's what they said. So I did it. And, you know, next thing you know, it's like I'm one of the fastest growing people and I'm breaking these records in this company. And I honestly felt like I wasn't even doing much of anything. You know what I mean? Like I definitely was like, I was putting time, but it was just so like natural in the sense of how this was happening. And every single person that I've connected with and works with me and my husband now, they are spiritually minded people, every single last one of them. Like it's
okay. I'm interested. So how do I sign up?
You're so funny. But basically, I mean, I'm always doing interviews. So, you know, anybody wants to interview, you can work from home, you can make some good money, you know, things like that. So definitely you can hit me up, you know, if you're interested in that on social media or whatever for an interview. But I didn't have any training in this, but when I went, I ended up going to this event for this, okay? And it was bizarre because I always seem to come across people that have died and then they came back. So they floated around like, you know, on the other side for a while, but they always end up coming back. And I get there and there's this guy, Shane Rudman. Actually, you guys can Google him if you don't know who he is, but he's part of the company and he had went through this experience. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about him on here, honestly, but I will ask after. But he had died and then he came back, you know, and as he's talking about synchronicities and he was talking about these numbers and then he was just everything he was saying, it was like everything I felt like I had gone through in life made sense at that moment. And it was actually, I was there for an event and the next morning there was a service. So mind you, I haven't been to a service since my mother type figure that was a pastor, she had passed away from breast cancer. And so I haven't been to a service, you know, in a church since then, which has been some time now. But this is in a service. This voice was like, go to this tomorrow. Okay. And then I go and then it was just spewing like everything. And I wrote down on this piece of paper, I want clarity. After so many crazy things going on with the store, I was like, I want clarity on this paper. And I wrote down all these questions and I go there and he comes up and he starts talking. We later talked about this and he told me he was actually not even supposed to talk that morning. And he got up and he said, I saw his energy changing. Because, you know, I could see energy. I saw his energy changing. I'm like, what's going on here? His energy's changing. Like, is this dude about to start channeling or something? Like, what's happening? I know I'm the only one that can see this right now, but like something's about to happen, you know? So I'm like, oh, like what's about to happen? And he says, he's just going, I'm supposed to tell somebody this. This isn't for everybody. This is one person, but here's your clarity. And that was like the first I want clarity was written on my thing. Here's your clarity. And he started talking about all these things, like detailed things that answered every single one of my questions that was written down. And it was like mind blowing because I'm like, dang, like, is this what I do for people? Because I've actually never had a reading. I've never had anything like that really done for me. Every time I try to get something done like that, they say they can't connect to my energy or something weird, you know? So I've never had something hit me like that. And he answered all these questions, you know, it was just hitting it right on the head. And I was like, man, okay, well, this is it. And I, you know, sent a text to some employees at the time and store, I mean, some things when I got back finalized that I was going to be closing the store just with some things that have happened, but it just lined up so perfect. The synchronicity was undeniable. And, you know, I'm always being guided exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I think that was just a validation, you know, to do this. And then here we are. And, you know, it has answered more. I went through hell this last year with PTSD and stuff from the vandalism and things like that. But it really all turned out for the better, 100%. you know. So now we're here, we're thriving with that. We're growing over 18 different states actually right now. So like, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Sorry, that was a little long-winded. I never got to actually speak that story out loud, but it really was so profound for me, and a huge life changer for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry that it started with violence, but it's a good story.
No, you know,
sorry that happened.
No, it was definitely, I think when you do what I do and you're so open, I'm very open about what I do. I reel it in a little bit now, just because you just don't know people's beliefs, and I don't have the energy, honestly, to deal with people like that anymore. But it was such a spiritual warfare. But I think that the world is going through spiritual warfare right now. So the more out there that, you know, someone of light is, the more targeted you're going to be. You know, I mean, the amount of exorcisms that have increased in the last year, 2 years have been absolutely insane. I've never done as many than I have in the last couple of years. I definitely think there's definitely shift going on for sure.
There definitely is. And I agree with you. There is a spiritual warfare going on. Mm-hmm. And I know that in our aura sessions, we are pulling entities out of people's bodies. And that can be difficult at times, you know, because they don't want to come out. And I think that that's a lot of the problem with society today, is that we are in a spiritual war. And we have been compromised as humans. We're compromised, and especially the people who are not especially awake. You know.
Yeah, and I think for me too. I had asked at the time that I'm tired. I've been doing it for a while. I'm not super old. I know that, but I have been doing this for a really long time, and I'm just tired, and I just I just want rest and protection at this point. And I think even in the sense of where I'm placed with my business, where spirituality and faith is number one, and they care about that, you know, and I don't have to hide that. It gives me such huge protection to be around people that are of light and higher vibration, because surprisingly enough, I'm never fully surrounded by people on higher vibration. I'm always surrounded by people that are not, you know, so.
Absolutely. And that's difficult to keep your vibration high while you are surrounded in that area. I believe that as well. What's the one thing that you would like to see change for our society, since we're kind of on the subject of what's going on?
I think I would like to see people, which I think I am seeing people start to wake up a little more. Like I said, this year is, from what I told, the year of free will. So I've been kind of stepping back and letting people do, you know, what they need to do. But I think also putting a light on family unit, putting a light on free thinking, you know, a little more, and not letting the division is insane, you know. It's just the politics, and it's like people, you know, politics is not actually politics. You know, me and my husband actually worked for a politician for a little bit, so I know firsthand, not because of the spiritual side, that it is not politics, you know. So I think people are waking up, though, and that's my biggest thing. That was my purpose, you know, before, is to help people realize this. And I think I'm now at a point where I can talk about some of these things I'm telling you guys, or I've never told, you know, other than my husband and maybe one other person. I don't talk about these things, but people are experiencing these things a lot more, and they're going to, because our world is different. It has shifted. The energy has shifted. It's shifted, it's done, and now you have to understand and learn how to operate here, or it's gonna suck. So, you know,
because it's gonna keep shifting too, right? Like we're on a just a trajectory.
Yes, and I think right now with that, year of free will, it's like, and I hate to say it this way, but that's the only clear way I think I can put it. When you put that light against dark, you have to have that balance, but we have been imbalanced. And so I think just bringing that back to a balance will help everyone. And I think people are starting to see the bullshit, so that's good,
Well, they want us divided and they want us fighting each other. So, because if we united, come on, we'd overpower them.
Yeah.
So, and what I mean, I think that all of us should, I think that you're right. There are more people awakening. Mm-hmm. There are more downloads that we are receiving. Absolutely. And I'm with you. I want to see that change in society back to when it was when I was a kid, loving one another and helping your neighbor and being involved in other people, not like in other people's business, but being involved
and that's that Christ consciousness that into that. That's that Christ consciousness and operating there, and operating in that space,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think related to that is like knowing our own powers as healers, as we are all meant to be healers, self-healing ourselves, our bodies from illness. We have so much potential that we've been taught like doesn't exist, but it's there if we can trust in it and believe in it.
Well, and that's the thing too. I do hope that I start to see, and I do see, people tapping into their intuition or realizing like, oh, I have that. Oh, I have an intuition. It's not, and it sucks because again, kind of going back to that trendy spiritualism that people connect with like a negative occult type of feel. You know what I mean? Where it's not that. It's very much a natural way of being. We are energy. Period. And that's not a woo-woo thing. That's a fact scientific thing. So it's like, you can learn how to operate that and understand that, or, not. But I think a lot of people just stepping into their gifts and understanding like their light and what they bring here, they're here for a reason, for a purpose.
Well, and for people understanding that Christ or whatever consciousness is not out there, it's within.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's where that operating on that Christ consciousness level is that level of remembrance. And it's like, oh, this is how I am. I am love. I am peace. I am this, all these things that are food and programming to put these negative things into us. And I'm going to tell you guys that I'm not by any means, people think because I can see energy or that I'm this way, that I'm some like higher being and I'm not human, at all. But like, no, but it's hard. It's hard to fight a system that is programmed to be a certain way. It's hard. It's not easy.
Well, they want you to stay asleep and not wake up. Yeah.
I'm just going to take a moment to ask our watchers, our subscribers to hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe to notifications, write any comments or questions that you have. All of it supports our show. Thank you so much. And then, Erlinda, we touched on a lot of the different things that you do, including being a medium. But I was wondering, like, if someone thinks they might want that service from you, what would you say? Like, when is it needed, or how would you know if you want to come see you for a mediumship session?
I always tell people that I get a lot of people that say to me, I was very drawn to you. I don't ever have anybody say to me like, oh, I'm just doing this because. They're like, no, I've looked at this. I was drawn to you for a reason. I can almost get like 99% of people that I've read for, say that. And I would say it's more of a feeling within yourself because too, there's a lot of people, honestly, a lot of people I've given readings to are skeptics or hardcore religious people that don't necessarily believe in this, but they end up doing it because they felt comfortable that I was coming from like a good space. So I was able to do that for them. But I would say if they feel it's right for them, it's time for them. Right now, I have kind of stepped back from mediumship just a little bit because it is very exhausting. And I think what was last year, I did like 986 readings. Like, so
Wow.
that's just like
that's a lot.
Actual like group readings or anything like that. So like, I overexhausted myself, I think, on that. So I kind of stepped back from it and I kind of go into it when I'm feeling called to do it. So it's just more so of catching like, oh, are you doing this right now or not? And if I felt to say yes, because before it was like I felt almost, it started to get to a point where I felt obligated, and I don't like that. I want to make sure I'm coming from a place of like, oh, like, okay, let's connect and do this thing, you know? So yeah, so I just think if it feels right for that person, you know, or you're feeling guided to, then do so.
Awesome. So is there a message that you would like to leave for our viewers this evening?
Just basically just stay in your authentic self, your authentic energy. That's so important, I think, right now more than anything. You know, I think people are starting to feel that. You see people opening their businesses or stepping away from corporate world to do something, like they're making these huge, massive changes in their life. And I think it's wonderful. You're seeing people learn how to grow food or build their garden in their backyard. You know, I mean, these different things that aren't the norm for them. And I continue to encourage people to do things that aren't the norm for you, you know, and if you're feeling called to do something, then just do it because it's part of your shift. And just keep following your synchronicities. If you have synchronicities, mine are always numbers and certain words and things like that. And if you just follow your synchronicities, you will be absolutely amazed at what life can give you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Is there any questions that the audience would like to ask before the show is over? I'm sure that you have to be curious and ask Erlinda something.
In the meantime, I was wondering, do you have like any exciting developments for your business, like, or projects that you're working on that you're looking forward to?
Mm-hmm. Well, our financial business is growing quite tremendously. I'm very excited to get that going. You know, we do so many different things with that. So it does take a lot of my time, just from down to hiring to, you know, everything else that we're doing with it. I would like to, you know, I've had different people talking about podcasts, you know, and doing that. So this was fun to, you know, do this. And I would like to start having more I've been looking at different avenues of having open conversation about, you know, my experiences and things like that, to just bring more awareness, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, education is part of it. Just like us getting out there and explaining like what these terms actually mean, what are the experiences that we're actually having. And then we have one question from Tracy. Will you write a book?
I actually will write a book. That is something that has been it's kind of been sitting there and thought about. It's just a matter of doing it, but it has.
She knew it. She had.
I know. There is definitely something I've been thinking about. It's more so trying to figure out about what, because there are so many different aspects, you know, to kind of my experiences and things like that. So it's just a matter of figuring out like, oh, what do I write a book about, rather than having like a conversation about it, you know?
Nice. And Carol Ann says, thank you for this chance to learn so much more.
Awesome. Thank you, Carol. Awesome. Love it.
So let's see. Is there anything that we have that you would like to cover that we have not covered tonight?
I mean, I'm sure there's so much we could sit here and talk about.
Right.
Do you have a favorite angel? Like archangel or
so Archangel Michael's my homie for sure. I would say that. You know, anytime I am not somebody that works with the angelic realm a lot. They have helped me, and in some of my experiences, Michael is the one that usually comes forward in my time of need or when I ask. But the angelic realm is not where I'm at a lot of the time. But I love Michael, and I have a little statue.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yes.
What about your guides? What kind of they're not angels? What would you say?
So I say everyone has guides. These are, I mean, just like normal people, so to say. I do have one that I don't believe is like a human, I guess I would say is the best way I could say that. I do have one that is not like human-like. I guess you could say more ET feeling like. But the rest are very much just like normal people. Like I have one guide. She specifically makes this sound for me that puts me in a automatic meditation mode very quickly. And so she makes this frequency sound, and that is solely her purpose. That has been her purpose. When I need to go in a quick, fast meditation mode for some reason, she does that. My main guide is Native American. I have a very, now I think about it, I have a very diverse group of guides.
Any like animals or is that part of it? Like, I like spirit animals too.
Yeah, so actually, where was it? I had a wolf is definitely strange, and it definitely came in the form of my son as well, which was interesting. And a hawk have been my two that I kind of mess with, but I'm not a huge animal fan either, to be super 100. So I don't know if I connect, but they do come to me in different ways. And most of the time it's a wolf or a hawk, and they do the weirdest things. Like, I'm just like, can you not?
I have the hawk as well, so I understand that completely. Any mythical creatures that you're attracted to, or?
What do you mean by that? Mythical creatures?
I have a phoenix.
Okay. Phoenix, nice. I actually have a tattoo of a phoenix on my back. But I probably have a connection to a phoenix in different areas, but I have not had any experiences with things like that at all.
We have one last question here for you. I'm going to put it up. I've seen demons or something very negative multiple times while I'm awake over the last year, and family members have had dreams connected to my encounter without speaking to them before my sighting. Do I need an exorcism?
That is a very loaded question. Okay, I guess my first question there would be like, are you sure they're demons? I guess would be my first question there. Or something very negative. And when you say something very negative, what is your definition of that? Because sometimes something could appear negative that's actually not, and more it'll feel negative because we have fear. So that would be my first question. And you said you do that while you're awake. So my next question would be like, what are your gifts and things like that as well? And then she said, And family members have...
I could put it back up.
Yeah, if you could, please. Family members have had dreams connected to my encounter without speaking to them before my sighting. Do I need an exorcism? And I would not say that, oh, the answer to that is you need an exorcism. That would not be my first go-to. But then again, it's more so, how do you feel in yourself? Do you feel protected? Do you feel confident? Do you feel good in your body? Do you feel that you are operating from your own, space, or are these things that you're just seeing, because again, I mean, I know someone that actually was one of my students, and one of their abilities where they were able to see more negative vibrational things all the time. They would be able to see those things, but they were not like possessed or something like that. I would more so take precaution and like protection of yourself, and if you're having encounters with them or engaging with it, what does that look like? But I would not say that your first go-to should be that you need an exorcism at all with that.
Maybe coaching would be good, though. It sounds like you're already coaching.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, that could be multiple things. I would definitely need to know details of that a little more, because there are things that I've seen and stuff like that, but they're not demonic or that, but some people may think that they were because they look different or they're scared, or something like
that. One more question. We have time for one more? Okay. Is seeing death in dreams as I do a complication?
Seeing death in dreams as I do. I guess what is as you do mean? My first question with that would be, is it death of yourself, death of other people? Usually when people are dreaming of death, it's not necessarily a actual meaning of death. It's just meaning of a ending of a phase or something that needs to end within ourselves or around us to kind of step into a new phase or a new energy. And again, would need more details of that, just because I have had a student as well that it's very rare, but I've come across a few people that literally, unfortunately, predicts death, and it is accurate, So I don't want to say predict, because the future always changes. Nobody can tell the future. If they tell you they could see the future, they're lying to you, because it's not a thing. It changes, all the time, constantly. But yeah, so I've known people to be able to see death before it happens, but it, again, I wouldn't say it's a complication. It's just, does it bother you? And if it does, I would maybe do like an intentional meditation before sleep, that you do not allow these things to access your dream state.
That's good advice.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another question or two. Okay. Erlinda, do you have time for them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put it up.
What does it mean when you randomly see a raindrop when inside? I have no clue.
It's a nice visual.
I mean, that's great. Like,
maybe it's an omen, or
like see a raindrop when inside, like a raindrop inside the house, or like you see the raindrop outside on the window, or like it definitely details of that. But I have no clue what raindrops would mean. I love rain though, and it's such a cleansing thing for me. So, I would say, like, what does that mean for you, or does it have any significance for you when you're seeing it? Because that may be one of your synchronicities, being able to point out and be aware of what your synchronicities are great. And if that's something that happens for you, okay, she said inside the house. Yeah, that's interesting. My next question, though, if you're seeing raindrops inside of the house, you probably got some spirits in your house, to be honest. just because usually in highly active spaces inside the home, you'll get residue on, people will get residue and stuff on their walls. And because when spirit manifests itself, it's almost like a filmy type of consistency, and it can leave, water or a dewy like substance there. But she said it's just one drop. That's very interesting. Is it in the same spot? I don't know. That's but I have no idea what like a raindrop would mean like at all. We could probably Google it though.
Yeah, this one.
I saw 911 happen in 3 different dream sequences. Okay, well, I hate to like say anything because I don't want anybody like. I just would like to say I'm not held responsible for anything. Like, after, because I don't want to say stuff. People are like, oh, she said this, But usually though, anytime I have seen 911, actually, it's happened to me in a couple occurrences, was usually right before something was supposed to happen and like warning me to steer away from something. And it really like, it was legit like both times I saw that. So that's my experience with seeing a sequence of 911 or popping up. So maybe I'll just be aware of maybe choices that you're about to make and whether that would be safe or good for you in those scenarios. This is protection. Oh, she says September 9th, I mean. Oh. I don't know. Did something happen September 9th? Is September 9th significant to you at all? I don't know. Yeah, sorry you guys, I'm taking up all your time.
No, you're fine.
That's great. It's part of why we wanted to do live shows is so that we could have this time for interaction. So it's really fun to have an open spot for that. And Erlinda, I've had so much fun meeting you.
Yes, you too. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it and having a space to kind of talk about some of my stuff. So.
Let's see.
I saw people running for safety way before it happened. Well, again, kind of like a protection, thing like I mentioned before. Maybe that was it, I would just pay attention to your surroundings and stuff when you do see that.
Awesome. Well, we really
Twin Towers. Yeah.
Oh, what?
Oh, to her dream, she was talking about the Twin Towers.
Oh.
So maybe
just seeing it before.
It was predicting. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. You are welcome.
Oh, look, Mama D put up her.
That's great. Oh. Yeah.
Yes, I do, by the way, have like a few different pages. So they're all by name. So that should be it. Yes. Thank you.
So we've really enjoyed you coming on and talking. It's been an interesting conversation, and I like the feel of the openness, and I agree with the audience. I think you're a fabulous soul.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I thank you so much. And if there's not any more questions, we may leave Erlinda to do whatever she's going to do this evening on a Friday night.
Go to bed.
Right?
Yes.
All righty. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us. It has been a pleasure. And we will see you again in 2 more weeks.
So thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.